working. I don't hear anyone.
Welcome. It's the final FIH Women's Hockey World Cup show, where we take a look back over what's happened, particularly the last weekend of action. And I've got four fantastic guests to help me dissect the action. So, in no particular order, we have Berta Banastra, former star of the Spanish women's team, and the person who's pretty much been responsible for what's been going on in Terrassa, the director of the Women's World Cup there. Hola, Berta, how are you today?
Fine, and you? Thank you.
I'm good. And I must say, you are looking very, very relaxed now that it's all over. So congratulations. We'll be talking more about the event in a bit. Then we've got Jill Bone. She's been a regular on this show with her very forthright opinions, former star of the Belgian Red Panthers team, as I say, a regular contributor to the show. And she's actually travelling on her holidays as we speak. So we're very honoured to have Jill here today just to round things off. Hi, Jill.
Hi.
Brilliant to see you. Then we've got Adrian Locke, head coach to the Spanish women's team. He's joining us to basically chat about experiences of being there on the sidelines throughout the event. Hi, Adrian.
Hi, Sarah. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. I must say you're looking a bit more relaxed today as well.
I have a few days to recover already.
And then we've got Dan Strange, our TV sports commentator, who has been closely following all the proceedings this World Cup, and pretty soon be moving on to the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. Dan, hello, how are you?
Yeah, very good. Very warm here in the UK at the moment. It's tipping 39 degrees today, but I'm all good.
Yeah, that's why I've got quite a red face today. Actually, it's very, very warm outside. Okay, let's come to Bertha first, because you've lived and breathed this tournament not just for the days that it was taking place, but in the sort of the months leading up to it as well. What's your overall impression of what went on?
Wow, that's a big question. I think I'm now so emotional about it because it's ended, but I think it was an amazing experience also for the players, as I told with them. And I don't know, for us, for the organization, we enjoyed so much preparing this big event. We were expecting everyone be experiencing the hockey party, and I think it was. Also, we had the best hockey ever in the stadium, also in Holland. And I think it's pretty much where we were wanting of this tournament. And I think we are pretty, I don't know, happy about that.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll come back and talk a little bit more about your experiences of the tournament. But Adrian, I mean, you also were living and breathing it as the host nation. What was it like being there playing in front of a home crowd every single time?
It's great. I thought the atmosphere was amazing. I think the effort that the organisation has put into setting up the tournament was amazing as well. Obviously, I work quite a lot in the offices with different people that are working on the event, and just the amount of effort and time everyone was putting in to make sure everything went well, everything ran smoothly, everything had been thought through, and it just went really smoothly in that way. I thought the stadium was amazing. It was spectacular just to being there and being inside and just seeing how it was visually. It was stunning that way. And when obviously with our games, when the crowds came in, then it was great as well. Just we don't play in front of big crowds very often. I mean the big events, the World Cups, Olympics are when big crowds come in. And for us personally as a Spanish team, that they're normally more supporting other teams. So to have Spanish supporters in and people supporting us was an extra motivation for the team. So it's just been one of those kind of once in a lifetime experiences that we've gone through, and it'll live long in the memory, I think. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, and obviously there was an awful lot of action going on in the Netherlands as well. And Jill, I know you went to at least one match there, if not more. What was your sort of your feeling around the tournament in Amsterdam?
Yeah, it was great. Stadiums were full, and not only from Dutch people, as we usually see, but a lot of supporters from Chile were there, a lot of Irish people, and a lot of Belgium also. Is not really further away, so a big hockey party in general.
Yeah, and Dan, you and I were sort of, well, no, actually, you went across, didn't you? You travelled over to Holland to see some matches. You know, as a TV commentator on many sports, What would you say to people who you're trying to persuade to watch, our sport of hockey based on what we've seen?
I tweeted something midway through the Argentina-Germany semi-final the other day, which was, whatever you're doing, whatever sports you like or don't like, stop it and put the hockey on now because it's amazing. I am a hockey geek because I grew up playing hockey. I was inspired by 1988 and I think I was 4 or 5 at the time. Anyone, whether you're into hockey or not, can be inspired by, anyone who's in sport can be inspired by other good sport. And I think sports are really transferable. I think here the level of quality was just so good and it was gripping that the matches, you look at last night's final, the narrative around it, the way Argentina kind of was so emotional in the anthem, you didn't need to love hockey to really feel that and really get into it. I think that has been, for me, on the ground at the Wagner, it was so clear the passion coming from the Dutch side of the organisation and the crowd there. Obviously, I sadly didn't get out to Terrassa, but I think that level of emotion mixed with the quality has just been another level.
I agree with you. I mean, I think the quality throughout the entire tournament has been astounding. And, I've watched every single game for my reviews and things. And I don't remember an instant where I wasn't just really, really fascinated by what was going on. But let's talk about the last weekend of action and those 2 semi-finals on the Saturday. We had the Netherlands squeaking past Australia 1-0, and then we had that amazing match between Argentina and Germany. Adi, if we come to you, because I'm not sure we've got Jill with us at the moment, but the Netherlands-Australia game, what did you make of the Australians? My question really is, could Australia have done with one more game before that? Could they have done with not winning not winning their pool and going to the quarterfinals straight through? Because it looked to me like they were still a team building.
Well, I think Katrina said it before the final. They haven't played a lot of hockey recently, and so I actually saw at the training pitch the next day after once they qualified directly for the quarterfinals, and we kind of had a laugh about it a bit. It's like, you haven't played any hockey for like a year and a half, and so you've got a few extra days off now. It's exactly what you need, and it's obviously the opposite. So they've come along. I mean, Katrina wasn't with the squad for a long time before Tokyo, and they've only had those 4 games that they played against New Zealand before the tournament, and I think they had a couple of other friendlies in Holland before they came across the Terrassa. So they haven't had a lot of hockey, and so obviously they came up short. Well, they were short in terms of preparation compared to the teams that have played Pro League. So I think obviously that would have made a difference because it's a team that's developing. But even so, they were incredibly solid defensively. I mean, up until the last game, they only conceded one goal, I think, during the group stages, and then one more in the crossover in the crossovers. I mean, they conceded very few goals. They're very difficult to break down. I thought,
as you found. I mean, sorry, because Spain obviously played them, and right till the final minute, I kept expecting you guys to score.
Yeah, no, it's difficult. I think Bartram in the goal was excellent. I thought she was the best goalkeeper there. I thought also she was excellent the last day as well. And they're just physically dominating, and they close the spaces. So it's hard to play against them. You've got to be able to play really, really fluidly and quickly. Otherwise, they get players around the ball. So they're really solid. But I think they're a team that are going to go from strength to strength. Hopefully now their COVID situation's kind of over. And they'll be obviously happy with I think they're happy with medaling. I think they've got to be happy with that from where they come from, with the Commonwealths coming up as well, and then coming back into Pro League next year. I think there's a team that can easily go from strength to strength. So I think it's a team to look out for.
What did you think of the Netherlands in that game, Dan? The Australia game, because it was a strangely close game, wasn't it? I just felt that Netherlands perhaps still didn't hit top gear in that match.
Yeah, they've been doing this the whole way through. They've not been. If you look back at 2018, where they were destroying teams, and they were to a degree, and they were, they're winning the final 6-1 against Ireland, and they were by far and away the best team by a long distance. Here, it's not they've just done enough. I think we've said numerous times the other teams have raised their game to the bar that the Dutch have set.
Yeah.
But the Netherlands they then became a team, which what they did well in this tournament was they got over the line. I mean, Matla hadn't, when I went to see them against Germany in the pool stages in Amsterdam, she stood out to me, not for what she did on the pitch and particularly in that game, but her presence on the pitch stood out for me. And I noticed the presence that Matla has for any team she's playing against. Of course, she scored in this game. It made the difference. Good teams get over the line in difficult matches. Adi will tell you that his team did it in the Pro League. We were talking about it at length in Antwerp against the USA, where Spain, they just managed to get over the line in certain games around that. And that's what good teams do. And that's what the Netherlands did here time and time again, even down to the final last night, where they managed it better. They managed the whole tournament very well. You know, they actually controlled their emotions. They controlled everything right the way through each game.
Yeah. And Matla does look quite ferocious sometimes, doesn't she? You wouldn't argue with her. Jill, are you still with us?
Yes.
Yes. What were your thoughts on the Netherlands and their build up throughout the tournament? Because they looked a little bit shaky to start with, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they've been dominant for the last decade now, but they've been through some stuff the last 6 months, and how they rebuild their team and how strong they looked in difficult moments. I think they just show us that they were just humans. That's also good. That they can have more difficult moments, but I think yesterday they just proved that they were again dominant and present in the most important moment. And I mean, they played their best game in the final, and that's something also characteristic from great teams. It's like they have, and I think Leader Welton said it too. It's like a title with ups and downs, where they were when they needed to be. So. Yeah, they were great yesterday. It was also a great game.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll come on to the final in a minute. But Berta, I mean, as the person wanting your tournament to really take off and excel, you couldn't have asked for a better showcase match than the other semi-final. I mean, Argentina, Germany had it all, didn't it?
It was an amazing game. I think the quality of the tactical and also the skills that the players were showing in that game were amazing. Also the intensity of the game, I was impressed. And every time we were talking with the people who were watching the game, and we didn't know who would win till the end. I mean, the emotion of that game was pretty ups and downs, and till the end I was thinking that Germany would win the game, and at the end it's Argentina who takes it all. And that's what I think is the best thing in hockey, that you never know till the end what will happen. And obviously, if I wanted someone in the final, it's also Argentina, because of all that public that were coming. Yeah. But I think Germany were improving a lot till the Tokyo Games, and I was impressed about their game. I mean, they were so vertical, really good in defense, having their chances till the end. And for me, it's a big improvement of their team, and also the feeling they have with their staff. I thought that was pretty amazing also.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, their staff just looked so together, didn't they? It was everything. It was the uniform. It was the sideline. I mean, they should have had a camera on Valentin Altenberg, because he was up and down that sideline like nobody's business. Yeah. Adi, that match, I mean, it was an astounding match. And I think what it did is it showed just how much potential there is with the German side in particular, with their young players coming through, because they have got some real talented kids coming through that team, haven't they?
Yeah, they got some good youngsters coming through. They've got some good youngsters that didn't make the squad that are really good as well.
Yeah.
But I think, like Berta said, they've come along quickly after the Tokyo Olympics, and they've set out their stead, if you like, for this new Olympic cycle. And I think they've had a great tournament, and I think they've controlled the games they've played in. They know what they're doing in each phase of the game. They read what's happening, and they just get on with it and do the business. I mean, I think it's been a great team. They've added some pace into the team as well, and they've got goal scorers. So they've always been pretty solid defensively, but they've just added that bit of pace in the goal scorers and a bit of skill and attack as well, and has made them dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. That game, Dan, did you feel that was Argentina's peak? Because at the end of the match, I mean, the emotion having won the semi-final, I think all of us were asking how on earth are they going to calm it down to come out for the final. What were your thoughts on that?
I think what I'm about to say is going to, well, we could have a half-hour debate on it, but for anyone who doesn't believe in sports psychology, or psychology is having a major impact on international sport, needs to go back and watch last weekend, because what a brilliant final! What a brilliant semi-final! The pictures that were the epitome of it for me, and the actual issue of it for me from Argentina's point of view, were Albertario and Maria Granato at the end, and they are celebrating, looking at each other, sort of, we've done it, like they'd won the whole thing. If you look at the Netherlands when they snuck through against Australia, it was a stepping stone. We've got over that stepping stone. We didn't slip. We're in the final now. Here we go. Now we get the job done. The Belgians kept using the Chicago Bulls line of the last dance. It felt more like that. They got to the last dance. It was their last dance. They won. Argentina, semi-final, they've won it. They're, huge emotion outpouring. And then at the start of the final, the response of Bellinsucci, that was going to go one of two ways. Yeah. You're either going to overcook your team by bursting into tears, or you were going to inspire them so much that they would come out the blocks, score 3 goals. They came out the blocks well, but they didn't score the 3 goals. You got to balance that. I mean, both teams that made the final had strokes of luck, or strokes of luck along the way to get there. I mean, Albertario's been given the goal against Germany for Argentina's second when it was a cross from Tocolino and it found its way in. Similar happened for the Dutch earlier in the competition as well, that mazy run and then sneaking it in the Belgium game. But I think the Netherlands just dealt with that better. Argentina, it was such a phenomenal game. But you've got to realise at what stage you are in the competition, and they needed to get to the final. They didn't really need to celebrate like that getting there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Jill, obviously they're your near neighbours. You know the Dutch very, very well. Did you ever have any doubts? Did you ever think that Argentina might sneak it, or were you confident that Netherlands would save their best game for last?
No, I thought Argentina had their chances. Also about the celebrating and stuff. I think that's their culture. I've seen them celebrating goals in the pool stages, like really that was the winning goal of the World Cup. So I quite like that about them, that they celebrated every goal, every victory, and to be like, what I felt like is Argentina was happy and emotional at every goal, every win, and that I felt like Holland was more relieved every time they scored or every time they won. It was like, oof, okay, now we didn't slip. And so that made me thought that Argentina could have a chance. But I think yesterday Holland played really well, probably the best game, and Argentina did mistakes that you really cannot make in a final of a World Cup, giving away corners, giving away balls and stuff like that. Lots of negative emotion, body language, and I think the pressure was really high. Obviously, like a final of the World Cup, obviously, but I think where Holland stepped it up and was ready for it, Argentina kind of lost a bit of their heads during the game. So that makes the difference, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Adi, with the Netherlands, that's always going to be their thing, if you like, isn't it? They're always going to be the team that everybody has to beat. They're always going to be the team expected to win. That's a very, very different pressure, isn't it, for both the team and for the coach? And how do you think they handled that? What was it? Did they handle it as well as they could?
Holland. Well, they seemed to, didn't they?
They certainly did seem to. Yes.
I
just wonder if there was ever any, because it seemed to me this time there was a little bit more doubt in their eyes. Whether I'm reading too much into it, I don't know.
I think obviously from outside you can always read things differently. Well, you can read the Argentinian emotions one way or the other. When you're outside the camp, it's difficult, and you can see things that maybe it was this, maybe it was that. That's kind of what we do. I think Holland's been through a tough time at the end of the day. And they've come out the other side, and I imagine that at some stage that must have united them, that must have made them think, look, we want to make this happen. And obviously they've got the quality of the players, haven't changed his team that much. Jamie's an experienced coach that's come in, and I know listening to him, I think I was listening on somewhere on social media or something how he spoke to the team after the semi-final, and he was clearly telling them that kind of it was special what they were doing and to believe in themselves. And they came out. I thought, to be fair, the final last night I thought was absolutely an amazing game. That was one of the best games of hockey I think I've ever seen. I think Holland were absolutely amazing. I was blown away by how good they were. And Argentina came out with an intensity, which obviously we were on the other end of it when having played against them, and they blew us away at the beginning. We struggled loads just to get into the game and just get up to speed. Holland just took it in their stride, and then they just started to dominate more and more and more, have more and more of the ball, force Argentina back. And they just knew exactly what they were doing, and they seemed to have total belief in what they were doing. And they just dominated, I think, in every single aspect of the game. And yes, in the early stages, not everything had been plain sailing, but also they know, or teams know, that you get a kind of a winning dynamic during the tournament, and you build up and you build up and you win again and you build up and going through tough times. I thought also Belgium were really good against them as well. The semi-final against Holland was really tough. Also, those first games of the last weekend, the first game is played in the sun, in the heat, and it's quiet. You don't appreciate it so much on the screen, on the TV, but it was very hot. The pitch is it's stickier, it's harder to play. It's technically a lot, requires a lot more technique and precision in the earlier game than the later game. And they'd gone through that. And so they maybe didn't shine against Australia, but there weren't the conditions to shine. It was question getting the result, and getting the result, I just think it just gave them that extra belief that they can go all the way. And at the end of the day, they've won everything for the last however long, and they may have that expectation for them, but I guess they're used to it as well. And Argentina, I imagine they would have seen it as their opportunity. They've come out, I think they've come along loads as well, Argentina, since the Olympics. Personally, I think they're playing with a lot higher intensity, they're a lot more direct, they're even better on the one-on-ones. And they've come along a long way as well. I think they did struggle with Germany, and it became very emotional, and sometimes that can help and sometimes it can hinder. But it just made for an epic game last night at the end of the day. And like Anne said, it's just a spectacle for people to come and watch.
It was an interesting point you made about Jamie and what he said, because in his pre-match interview before the final, unlike just about every other coach who says we're only thinking about our own game when asked about the opposition, Jamie came out and said, right, okay, well, we know that we need to stop Albertario, we know that we need to stop Granata, we're going to concentrate on, and he was very, very open with the fact that he'd looked at the other team. That's not something that I know coaches do it, but they don't talk about doing it. So, was that a breath of fresh air for you to hear, Adi?
I mean, yeah, it's good. I mean, it's what everyone does at the end of the day, and then you talk about what you feel like talking about at the time. To be honest, I've got to admit, Dan, I go into the interviews, I say the first thing comes to my head, and 2 minutes later, I forgot what I've said. But
don't worry, we know it's fine. It's fine. That happens, not just from you, but from a lot of people.
Obviously, I think during the season, it's true that people are concentrating on themselves because it's a new Olympic cycle. The period from the Olympics to here has been very short. It's a year shorter than usual. Teams haven't had time to develop. So a lot of the concentrate would have been on themselves. But then you go into the World Cup and you're aware of who are the good players in the other team, how they're going to play, what you need to bear off within what you want to do. And when you go against Argentina, which is obviously they're quite individual in the way they're playing, then you know what kind of player Trinchinetti is, how she's going to attack you, how Maria Granata is going to attack you, how the different players are going to play, the flicks that Gorcelani and Costa are going to do from the back. And you kind of know what they're going to do. And so you know what you need to be aware of because you know where the strengths are. But you also know where your strengths are. I mean, it's interesting. Yesterday, the Dutch were playing with 4 players high a lot of the time, especially in the first half and the second quarter. So Argentina were basically pressing with 2, maybe a kind of link player just behind. But they were with 6 players back. So every time they got the ball, they had none to pass to either. And so they didn't really attack at all because Holland just had all the ball. And that's where they started dominating, and Argentina started running after the ball. And when they got it, they just dribbled, and Holland just got more and more players around the ball. And in the second half of the scoreline, Holland didn't commit more than 4 players forward at any time in the second half. They had 6 players waiting for counterattacks the whole of the second half. So if Argentina are defending with their entire team and a counter-attack with 1 or 2 or 3 players, it's 3 against 6, and they were never going to break the Dutch down like that. And they didn't seem to have a a plan B maybe to try and think, well, we need to get the Dutch out of their rhythm, but they didn't manage to do it. And the Dutch plans, I think, like Jamie said, it was clear how they're going to play it. It was clear what they're going to make the Argentinians do. They're going to equal them, especially physically on a one-on-one defense. Holland were awesome, and if you get that right against Argentina, then you're halfway there.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the individuals who've shone at this World Cup. And I'm going to come to Jill on this one because it's your teammate. Charlotte Engelbert got Young Player of the Tournament. I thought she was amazing. You obviously know her. Has she come on leaps and bounds in the last few months?
No, it's the last years. It's been awesome. Wow, it's been incredible. She's been playing at racing since she's 15, and every game she gets better. So it's not even every year. It's like every game, with every training, every month, she's getting better. We knew it for a long time that she had that special thing in her stick, and now she proved it on the international stage. So it's just great recognition. Too bad that the result of the team wasn't there, because I think she could have shown some more in the later stage. And no, the future looked bright for her, and can't wait to see her at the Olympics. I can't wait to see her in the next challenges, and also to play with her next year, which is probably going to be my last season. And always great to have a player like this so fast in your team.
Is that breaking news, Jill? That's your last season. Are we breaking some news to people there?
Oh no, people know. I guess I'm 35.
Okay, let's pretend. Let's pretend
no.
we're bringing some news.
Yeah. It's an exclusive.
And the other thing about Charlotte Engelbert is she shone out at a World Cup where young players really shone. I mean, Dan, you're nodding. There were some great young players out there on display, weren't there? Who really caught your eye?
Oh, it's so hard to go into. I mean, Lala and Shyami had come into the competition in good form. She continued to play really, really well from India. There was so many. Engelbert is a great example. Oh, crikey, so many. I almost can't think of them because there are that many good ones. But across the board, there were just so many phenomenal performances. And actually, I think that's also the fact I can't remember them is actually me not necessarily analysing their ages as well. Players are just stepping up. And you suddenly look back, and I would do this in my biography if I had my biography in front of me, which I do obviously when I'm commentating, be like, oh, that player's 19. Okay, fair enough. And you sort of make a big deal of it when you're commentating because that's a storyline. But here I think the game is becoming younger. I think it has, as in the players that are coming through are shining brighter earlier in that way. So many. Go to someone else and come back to me in a second, and I'll give you a couple.
I was going to go to Berta, but I seem to have lost her. I was going to say I thought Jetta Fleischutz from Germany. I probably pronounced that completely wrong. I thought she was very good. And Linnea, and I can't remember her surname, from the German team as well, who took
Lena McKeel.
Lena McKeel, very good.
Absolutely. I was going to say that from yesterday. How much she actually offers. Stappenhorst is more of a goal scorer. McKeel is more of an all-round utility forward. And in that way, 100% agree. But again, without my bios in front of me, I wouldn't have necessarily gone, she's definitely a young player, but that's because of the level these players are setting themselves. It's because of Umbra Bellingain. You would almost think she's 26, 27, and I don't think she is. I think she's early 20s again. She's a very young player again. But a lot of these players feel like they've been around for a long time, and they're doing exceptional things at a very early age. And as I say, kind of age becomes irrelevant at that point.
Yeah, I agree. Adi, what about you? I'm not necessarily talking about young players, but who really, really stepped up and took to the stage this time around, do you think?
Was of all the players, that really stood out for me was Albers for Holland. I thought she was incredible.
She's on my list too.
I thought she had an awesome tournament. Well, I say awesome tournament. To be fair, there's teams that I've seen more of than others. When you're in the tournament, there's the teams that you come against, or you could come against, and you see a lot more. Well, the teams that you play against, obviously, you see a lot more in detail. And there's other teams that, to be fair, I haven't seen so much. But Albers was one of the standout players for me from the games that I saw of Holland. I saw all of Holland's games, and yesterday she was outstanding again. But not just an attack. Although nearly all of Holland's danger plays came through her on the right hand side, I remember, I think it was in the third quarter, the time when they were stuck in their back left hand corner and couldn't get a way out. And somehow, I don't know why, from right wing or right outside forward, whatever, she was back in the left hand pocket and helped get a team out of the corner in the final. And she was just everywhere, I thought. So I think she's been amazing. I thought Granato's had a really good tournament. I think she's
which
come
one
back this year.
Which one?
Maria, sorry, Maria.
Maria, yeah.
I think both of them, but Maria especially. I thought I think she's had a couple of quieter years, and I think this year she's come out strongly. I think she's had a really good season in Pro League, and then in the tournament, I think she's been great. So I think she's really come back into the limelight. And who else? Engelbert, one of the players I like. I didn't know she was a young player. When we do the votes for the young players and stuff, you get a list of who's the young players. Yeah. And I saw it on it. It just caught me completely by surprise, because I think she says, is what Dan was saying before. I was like, it's hard enough remembering all the names of the players and numbers of the players and the positions and how they play and everything like that, without remembering everyone's age as well. It's pretty impossible.
Now you're such a good commentator, Addy. You're going to have to get better at it. And so yesterday, or the day before yesterday, when we were doing the voting and stuff, I saw she was on the young player list, and I was just, wow, I can't believe she's still a young player.
Well, I was astonished. So somebody said Sonia Zimmerman, a veteran of the team, and I thought, I don't know how old she is. And I checked her age, and she's 23.
Alba's,
we looked her up the other week as well for the same reason. We think, well, how old is she?
Yeah,
and because we
so
thought
mature.
That she was going to be like 26, 27, and she's 23.
Yeah.
Alba's is 22.
Yeah, incredible.
I interviewed her on pitch at London. She didn't talk like a 22-year-old. She talks like a 29, 30-year-old. Her presence is like someone in their late 20s. It's not like a player who's just sort of come into the team in the last few years or in the foothills of their career. And it's exactly the point Adi was just saying. It's these young players who they're taking to it like ducks to water. It's unbelievable, really.
My sort of wrap-up question, really, and I was going to ask Berta, but she's unfortunately been taken away from us. So I'm going to come to Jill and Adi on this one. The hockey in Amsterdam, the hockey in Terrassa, it was sort of made it a pan-European event. I mean, hockey, yes, it's already well supported. It's already good in those two countries. But what has this event done for, in particular, women's hockey, do you think? And I'll come to Jill first on that.
I didn't understand the question. Can you just repeat it?
Sure, yeah. This tournament, what do you feel that this has done for women's hockey? Because, I mean, it's just been astonishing, hasn't it?
I think it wasn't the level of the games were like unreal, and I think it's a magnificent show for women's hockey in the future. And I think it's not only about women or men's hockey in general. I think the girls, the teams were really impressive. The level of physicality or speed of beautiful hockey or of teams that the level gets quite the same, and it's going to be really promising for the next tournament. I think I'm already super excited to see the next tournament. So I'm sure there are a lot of fans, or old fans or new fans, that are going to watch women's hockey more closely for sure.
Do you enjoy watching, or do you wish you were out there, Jill?
Well, I think anyone that played still wish it could be up there. I think the emotion you have playing for your country at international stage is something that is unreal, and you cannot buy it. It's not something that you can go to a store and just buy the emotion. It's something I think as an athlete you will miss all your life. But also I enjoyed so much to watch teammates or people I knew when they were really young players and now performing at bigger stage. Peke Moes, I played with her for 4 years, and she was such a good player already, and now she's that young woman that just became world champion. And that's also the beauty of hockey. It's that you are happy for others and you just enjoy the sport so much. I think we are all passionate about hockey, and to watch it at that level and especially women hockey, it's just so great. Yeah. I still enjoy it to watch it. Yeah. Also.
Brilliant. Adi, just quickly to you, what does it mean for hockey in Spain, actually? I mean, is this going to get more people into the clubs and through the doors? Because there was some amazing talent out there.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I agree with Jill and how she sees the tournament and the players and how international hockey is evolving. The athleticism of the women is incredible, together with the coordination of what they do. It's just spectacular. Yeah. And I'm really hoping that it's a big event in Spain. It's got some media coverage. I think our first press conference at the beginning of the tournament, I think we had a press day, before the tournament, and there was 30 press outlets that came for it. And we've never had that interest of the 10 years I've been here with the senior team, not on the Olympics. We've never had that kind of interest, and getting out on the TV coverage. I'm just really hoping that it'll boost the interest in hockey, and that hockey becomes an option for girls to take up. And we're really, I think, there's a stage now where we really need to boost our players' profiles, make sure that we convert our athletes into reference kind of figureheads, leaders,
superstars, or icons of the sport.
Good word. Icons is good. And that people look up to them, and that's who they want to be. They want to be a Sara Barrios, they want to be a Georgina Oliva, they want to be a Melanie Garcia in the portery in the goal. They want to become these players, and that hopefully watching them live and seeing it on the TV will inspire more people to play hockey, and we can grow, because we're a very minority sport generally throughout the world, more or less in each country, and women's sport is growing. It is the time of women's sport now to grow. So hopefully here it'll move things along and create interest, and we can keep growing, because we desperately need to grow and increase the number of players that are playing.
You talk about Georgia Oliver there. I read a really lovely little tweet that said the world is covered 70% by water and 30% by Georgia Oliver, which I thought was great. Dan, I'm going to ask you to wrap up, because you're the storytelling man. I mean, you and I have watched the narrative of this World Cup unfold on probably a wider scale, because we know that Jill's been very focused on Belgium, Adi's been very focused on Spain. You and I have watched the narrative unfold. For me, the defining moments, Belensuki crying her eyes out at the end, some of the aerials that have been thrown by Gozolani, Georgia Oliver running there have been so many stories, but for you, what epitomises what's been going on in these last 2 weeks?
There's one moment, and it's because of it's two things. Because of the quality, Alba's goal, not just the finish, the way the Dutch against the second best team in the world, a team equal to them, got themselves out of trouble, lovely one-touch hockey, beautiful ball into the middle. Then the way that Alba's realised she had the pace against Costa. She manoeuvred Costa beautifully out of the game, and then had the presence of mind to make Belensuki not look like the level of goalkeeper that Belensuki is. And Belensuki is phenomenal. That deserved to be seen by everyone. I genuinely I was thinking earlier, you've got the Women's European Football Championships on at the moment, which are getting amazing coverage of, obviously, in England and across Europe and across the world. You've also got things like the Men's Football World Cup at the back end of the year. Those will have billions and billions and billions and billions of eyeballs on them. I don't know that you will see a better goal scored in both those competitions than Felix Alba's scored last night. That is something in hockey we've got to say. We've got an amazing sport. We've got to be passionate about it, and we've got to take it forward in the right way. This World Cup, to me, genuinely just showcases, as every World Cup should in any sport, it's showcasing the best in our sport. And that goal was kind of the epitome of it all. It brought it all together. I thought it was just magnificent.
Thank you. Yes. And it was lovely. The final was the best of the best, but we also had Chile in there as well, giving it all that South American flair. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure spending this World Cup talking to you. I mean, Jill and Dan, you've been here every single time. Adi, thank you very much for joining us on the final show. Thanks to Bertha and to all the other guests as well. I have loved every minute. I know Dan has loved every minute. Adi, you'll have loved most of the minutes, and Jill, you'll have loved most of the minutes. But thank you for spending your time, and thank you to everybody who's taken the time to tune in and listen to us talking about this absolutely amazing sport. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.